Chapter 1 Wait, Don't Die First. I am Ethel Chen Kiai, 23 years old, Chinese American, 1/4 German ancestry, and full of Chinese feelings. I am from Quantico, Virginia. I am currently unemployed. Oh, maybe it can also be said that he is enjoying the vacation time after firing his boss. However, due to the concern from the elderly, he was forced to take a leave of absence to apply for a job at a computer company in Seattle. But this may also be the beginning of my tragic life. God knows why Uncle Kent introduced me to Seattle. In addition to its developed electronics industry, Seattle is also called the Rainy City. This is really terrible. I kept pushing back the hair hanging in front of my eyes, hoping that the wet hair would stay safely out of my sight due to the adhesive force of the water, but it didn't seem to have much effect. The hair that is dripping, the coat that has turned from goose yellow to ginger due to being soaked, and the boots that creak after being filled with water. This is not the rhythm of an interview. Ouch. Hey. Okay, now I am totally surrendered. It seems that I can't do it without changing into a suit. I don't know if 4 hours is enough for me to appear in front of the interviewer in high spirits. While I secretly mourned the more colorful coat, I reached out to help the beautiful woman who is still sitting in front of me. I'm sorry, I didn't see you. It was raining too hard. I was covered by an umbrella. This beauty with brown curly hair pointed to the red umbrella that fell aside, looking at me guiltily. Or maybe looking at the stains on my body guiltily, from the initial apology to a somewhat incoherent conclusion. I can compensate you for the cleaning cost of your clothes. No need. I waved my hand. My clothes were destined to be cleaned an hour ago when I forgot to bring my umbrella. Besides, I walked too fast. Well, are you an employee of Brita Company? I noticed the ID card she dropped aside, picked it up and handed it to her, and glanced at it. Human Resources, Heather Woodland. She smiles a little silly in the photo, which may be a tragedy that happens in every ID photo. Yes. She took the card and put it into her coat pocket. Thank you. She looked at her watch subconsciously, frowned slightly, and then looked up at me as if she had realized something. Don't you have an umbrella? How about I lend you one? My company is only 2 blocks away from here, and I have an umbrella in my drawer. You know, in Seattle, coffee and umbrellas are indispensable. No, I'll be at the hotel soon. You can use the spare umbrella there. I'll buy an umbrella later. I smoothed my hair back. It won't get wet anyway. It doesn't make any difference whether I use it now or not. Tightening my soaked coat, I showed her the standard 6 teeth. Let's not talk about it now. I'm in a hurry. I'm leaving now. Goodbye. Okay then, bye. I picked up my suitcase and walked quickly across the street. Suddenly, I heard the sound of a horn and subconsciously turned around. Isn't it a red light? Why are there cars honking their horns? What he saw was an orange-red car that slowly stopped in front of Heather Woodland. The beauty with curly chestnut hair looked at the car intently and exclaimed in surprise, "Wow," and said to the person who walked out of the cab, "Heather Woodland." Although she was talking to the other person, her eyes still did not leave the car. Then the two exchanged a few words in a low voice. The man handed her the car keys and got into the passenger seat. Woodland happily got into the driver's seat and drove away together. It's strange. This car seemed to have been parked on the street corner just now, right? Why didn't I just drive over when I was talking to Woodland? And even if it's raining, you don't need to cover most of your face with a hood, right? What are the hobbies of Seattle residents? I shook my head, feeling something was wrong, but the car was gone. Could it be that I have watched too many TV series? I secretly laughed in my nervousness and turned around and walked to the hotel not far away. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I walked into Brita Company, freshly dressed. This company is said to be one of the top electronics companies in Seattle. The whole building exudes a postmodern artistic atmosphere, and it really doesn't look like an electronics company. I curled my lips, and in a blink of an eye I saw the gray and dim figure beside the landscape tree in the corner. Can't you just stop for a while? I sighed secretly and went directly to the 17th floor. Handing the information to the curvy blonde beauty in front of me, Ethel, I'm here to interview a programmer today. This is the first interview in my life, and I'm a little uneasy. I don't know how to express it in order to appear generous and decent. I feel a little warm in my ears, and I really hope my face doesn't turn red like a newbie. Well, I'm a newbie. Nice to meet you, Mississippi. The beautiful lady smiled professionally as if she didn't see my embarrassment. You can call me Vanessa. The interview in the afternoon will be conducted by our supervisor. It's in the conference room on the 20th floor. Please follow me. After saying that, he politely turned sideways and led me to the elevator half a step ahead of me. Are you a little nervous? It's your first interview. After entering the elevator, Beauty Vanessa pressed the floor with her finger painted with scarlet nail polish. She turned her face sideways and said to me as if to soothe the atmosphere, "Actually, it's nothing. Take it easy. For a girl as beautiful as you and with an excellent resume, just be yourself during the interview." She blinked, and her curled eyelashes seemed to scratch someone's heart. Gee, the power is really strong, but unfortunately, I am firmly heterosexual. But if you look good and have a good resume, you don't have to worry about interviews. I would really be a noob if I believed that. I smiled at her implicitly and said nothing, but my heart was already agitated, and I complained about this beauty while having fun. "Miss, please wait here." The beautiful Vanessa sent me to the door of the conference room. "I'm going to inform Mr. Shaun." She nodded to me and turned to the smoking room opposite the conference room. I became even more nervous, but I didn't know why. After seeing the empty conference room, I leaned against the door and looked quietly at where Vanessa was walking. This action is really obscene. I don't know why I would do such a thing, but the psychological tension has dominated all my thinking. It seems that even after 23 years of eating in the United States, I am still a reserved and restrained Chinese citizen who will tremble nervously when facing an interview. The man who should be Mr. Shaun and Vanessa were talking about something and looked quite happy. But are they too close? Before I finish my thoughts, I saw Mr. Shaun taking the materials from Vanessa's hand and preparing to walk over. The moment he turned around, he seemed to inadvertently brush Vanessa's pert buttocks with a corner of the folder. Is this considered sexual harassment in the workplace? My pure heart trembled like a rustic. But I saw Vanessa looking at Mr. Shaun's back with a very strange look in her eyes. It didn't look like the anger of being taken advantage of, nor the pleasure of sex between men and women, but a calm and slightly raised mouth. Before I could study it carefully, I saw that Mr. Shaun was about to walk out of my blind spot and was in danger of being discovered. I quickly sat down in my seat. "Ethel," Mr. Shaun's eyes lit up when he saw me. His smile deepened, and he waved his hand and said, "Sit closer. The conference room is too big." The words of discussion were declarative sentences. I looked at his uncomfortable smile and sat forward half hesitantly and half embarrassed. This Mr. Shaun is a middle-aged man with half a head of brown hair. It is said that he has half a head of hair because his hairline has reached behind his ears, which perfectly illustrates the state of an IT man reaching his peak. He has brown eyes with slightly drooped corners, a tall nose, and deep nasolabial folds. Although his hair is sparse, he still has the appearance of a mature elite man. It's just the smile at the corner of his mouth that always makes people feel uncomfortable. "Miss, you're a top student at Stanford University. Your last job was at the Quantico branch of Kentis Software. I looked at your resume. The Quantico branch of Kentis Software is very close to the neighborhood where you live, and the company is developing well. Why did you choose to leave?" He flipped through my resume casually, while looking at me with a smile. His eyes scraped across my body like a scraper, making me sick and sending chills down my spine. Is it too late to tell him that he kicked his boss's balls out because of sexual harassment in the workplace? My hands tightened again and again. "Because I think Brita Company's development prospects are better," I said shamelessly and without conscience, swallowing the complaints in my heart. "Really?" His smile deepened. He picked up the cup on the table and took a sip, then wiped the water stains on his mouth with his fingers, stood up, walked slowly to me, and whispered, "But not everyone will have a future. Miss, You must know that it depends on whether a person is smart and whether she can make people feel that she can develop. He paused, put his hand on my shoulder, and kept rubbing it gradually downwards. Then he blew a breath like a lover and murmured, "Prospects." For a moment, all my hairs protested collectively, and all the blood flowed back to my face. My whole body was on fire. My brain was completely filled with anger and nausea, and veins burst out on my hands. Go to your patience. Go to your reserve. Go to your future. Go yourself. I gritted my teeth and cursed, and punched Shaun hard in the abdomen. I watched this disgusting guy howl in pain and fall to the ground. Just when I was about to add a few more kicks, I found this guy lying on the ground pretending to be dead. Even if you want to pretend to be a victim, you have to look at the target. There is someone above me. "Hey, what are you doing? Are you pretending to be dead?" I kicked Shaun impatiently. Isn't this man too fragile? He fell to the ground in fear after just one punch. "Hey, get up." But he still didn't respond. "No, you won't be knocked unconscious, right?" I squatted down and turned over this wretched man who was lying on the ground like a turtle, but I was horrified. It was found that there was some yellowish white foam remaining at the corners of his mouth. His eyes were wide open, and his pupils were dilated. I quickly touched his neck, but it made me feel chilly. This guy is not pretending to be dead, but is really dead by me? A punch? Beaten to death? This is unscientific. The first interviewer receives a lunchbox. Chapter 2, The Missing Woman. Remember mail sign in 1 second, update quickly, and read for free. I am Ethel Chen Ki, 23 years old, from Quantico, Virginia, Chinese American, 1/4 German ancestry, and full of Chinese blood, but half of it is cooled down. I am currently unemployed and suspected of murdering Phoebe Shaun, a white American man. That is, my first interviewer was punched and knocked out by me. Why did I feel like I had a deja vu of Kyo Kusanagi? Time? 3 hours ago. Technique: a fatal punch to the abdomen. Motivation: excessive resistance to sexual harassment in the workplace. Current location: interrogation room of the FBI Northwest Regional Office in Seattle, Washington. God knows I only punched that guy once. Why even the FBI was dispatched? Who was he? William Jefferson Tunn. The temperature in the interrogation room was not high, which made it even more uncomfortable for me, who was not used to the humid air in Seattle. Since I was transferred from the Seattle Police Department to the FBI Northwest Regional Office in Seattle 30 minutes ago for some unknown reason, I have only had this cup of Starbucks in front of me. I didn't like this stuff in my previous life, and now that the hapless interviewer was blaming me for overdefense not long after drinking the cup of so-called roasted hazelnut coffee, I decided to put this brand on my blacklist completely. But now it's still good for hand washing. I rubbed the warm paper body of the coffee cup and looked at the one-way glass on the left. I was not nervous at all in the mirror. My thin bangs half covered my cold eyebrows, my mouth was slightly pursed, and my pointed chin rested on the back of my hand, looking a little bored. I saw the people on the other side of the mirror narrow their eyes slightly. The men next to me said these things, and several people looked at me without blinking. See? Yes, see. Didn't I tell you that I have some furry little problems? Okay, I'm really sorry. That's right, I am the legendary psychic mutant system. It's really rude. I turned my head unconsciously and looked at my newly trimmed fingertips in a daze. Does the FBI deserve the praise? It is really empty and cleaner than the Seattle Police Department. Is this the legendary evil spirit that suppresses evil? It's a pity that Shaun didn't even retain his soul after he fell to the ground. He really died too quickly. Bah. The door opened and closed, and 2 men came in. A middle-aged uncle with sharp eyes but slightly restrained, a medium build, and a thin man, or should I say boy, with a haircut similar to that of a Chinese schoolmaster. Hello, Ethel. The uncle sat down directly, stared into my eyes, and began to introduce himself. I am Agent Gideon, and this is Dr. Reed. Hello. I nodded slightly. What happened throughout the day made me feel tired unconsciously, so I acted coldly. With all due respect, you don't seem nervous, Mississippi. Gideon tilted his head slightly, with a smile on his lips. These two people have been observing me since I was just on the opposite side of the glass. Looking at each other, some people are disgusting and embarrassing, and some people are just like these two, academic? Nervous? Of course. Why should I be nervous? I leaned back slightly and looked directly into Gideon's eyes without a trace of guilt. As long as the medical examiner of the Seattle Police did not graduate from the literature department, he should have discovered from the weird hazelnut smell that I cannot poison a person to death with one punch. So, you noticed something but didn't stop it? The big boy who had been acting as a backdrop couldn't help but ask. He seemed a little unnatural. From just now, his eyes were sometimes sizing up and sometimes avoiding, always avoiding eye contact with mine. It doesn't sound annoying or cowardly, but, well, a sensitive little animal with its paws covering its head? Dr. Reed? I didn't feel angry about what he said. Instead, I turned around with interest and caught his gaze. You know, although my nose is healthy, it is not a police dog. The reason why I know something is because my interviewer put his head too close to me so that the smell of almonds in his mouth, which is different from the so-called roasted hazelnut coffee, came to my face. And I thought that the throbbing pain caused by my proper retaliation may now be regarded as dyspnea and convulsions after poisoning. But I didn't react at all, and I didn't have time to stop it. Well, actually, I don't know how he died. It's just that the chatty old man in the Seattle Police Department, the former medical examiner A. Piao, has been breaking down the autopsy process in my ears as long as he didn't drift for too many years and became mentally confused. It is not that difficult to repeat his words. Well, Reed opened his mouth, then closed it. Instead, he avoided my sight and began to recite at a jaw-dropping speed. Almond odor. Hydrogen cyanide has the smell of bitter almonds, is easily diffused, and is easily soluble in water to form hydrocyanic acid. Cyanide is generally a colorless crystal, which easily deliquesces in the air and has a faint odor of hydrogen cyanide, which can cause the water to produce almond odor. Mild cases may include mucosal irritation, numbness of the lips and tongue, headache, dizziness, weakness in the lower limbs, chest pressure, nausea, vomiting, increased blood pressure, palpitations, asthma, etc. Severe cases have irregular breathing, gradual coma, convulsions, incontinence of urine and feces, drops in blood pressure, and rapid respiratory failure and death. He spoke quickly and urgently, without pausing at all. It was not like he was explaining, but like an encyclopedia that was automatically read. Well, although I don't want to interrupt your science, Dr. Reed. I smiled at him, and he looked at me helplessly, and then looked at Gideon for a moment. But I am really tired, gentlemen, tell me. What is the reason why you came to me? I supported my chin with my hand, and looked at the dominant man, Gideon. Have you ever seen this person? Gideon glanced at me, and pulled out a photo from the folder. This is... I frowned. Heather Woodland? Do you know her? Gideon's expression was a little subtle. No, not really. It's just a casual encounter. I took the photo and looked at it again. At noon today, around 12 to 12:20. I raised my head and looked at Gideon. I bumped into her and picked up her ID card, by the way, and she happened to be a staff member of the Human Resources Department of the company I was going to interview. I nodded my chin and affirmed, I saw her ID card. Heather Woodland of the Human Resources Department, so I know. So that's why the street corner camera captured you, and her entering the blind spot. Gideon nodded understandingly. Wait, blind spot. I frowned and looked at him. The camera on 12th Street was vandalized by someone, so it became... He explained to me, blind spot. I took over his words. Is she missing or not? I don't want to make worse assumptions, even if it's just a girl I met once. Yes. Gideon looked at me deeply. She is missing. Please give me a piece of paper and a pen. Thank you. I probably knew why he came to me. Reed on the side reacted quickly, maybe because he acted before others. He tore a piece of paper from the notebook and handed it to me along with the pen he had been holding on to. Thank you. I took the paper and pen and started writing and drawing nonstop, while saying to them without raising my head, The time was probably around 12:20, because it took me about 10 minutes to walk to the hotel to check out, and it was 12:30. She drove by herself, and I didn't do much research on the car. The color was orange red, and the license plate couldn't be seen clearly. The model looked like this. I stopped writing and handed them the prototype I had drawn. Datsun Z. Reed could tell at a glance. He nodded to Gideon. It is a small Japanese car series, and there are not many models in this color. This time, he did not go into a long speech. I don't think they knew each other. I mean, there was another man in the car. I looked at the two of them and recalled. The man was about 176 to 180 years old. He was very thin and covered most of his face with a hood, but he should be a white man. Huh. Do you know they don't know each other? Gideon raised his eyebrows in interest. From Heather Woodland's words. I thought for a moment and confirmed. Woodland reached out to the man driving the car and said, Heather Woodland, which was like introducing herself to the first meeting. During this period, I saw that her eyes never left the car. They said a few words, and then the man handed Woodland the car keys, and then Woodland drove away. Up until then, Woodland had shown far more interest in the car than in the person, no. Maybe. I raised my head and looked at Gideon, as if seeking confirmation. She was very polite to the person. The two of them gave me the feeling of being a customer and a seller. Yes, the whole process was like a test car. Thank you for your cooperation, Mississippi. Gideon stood up, turned to Reed, and said, Tell them, we have found him. As for Phoebe Shawn's case, your lawyer will be here shortly. I don't think it will matter much. Gideon smiled kindly at me, giving me a reassuring feeling. As soon as the words fell, the two people turned around and prepared to leave. Wait, I stood up and subconsciously grabbed Reed, who was about to go out. Without noticing, I pulled half of his sweater off his shoulders. Ah, sorry. I blushed in embarrassment. Reed looked even more embarrassed than me. His face turned red, and he felt like his ears were on fire. He tried his best to pull the collar to the blue shirt and stuttered. No, it's nothing, miss. Is there anything else? He said it's nothing, but he didn't act like it's nothing at all. He was just like a little girl who was molested. I suppressed the strange laughter and complaints that I wanted to burst out, and calmed down, looking at him sincerely and expectantly. Will she be okay? Reed scratched his face, his childish face framed by his hairstyle. Like a teenager, we will try our best. I took the paper with the car from his hand, took the black pen from his hand, and quickly wrote a series of numbers. This is my number. When Heather Woodland comes back, please ask her to send me a message. If. I don't want to go on. Then please let me know after you catch the murderer. Okay, Dr. Reed? He took the pen and paper blankly and nodded subconsciously. Please don't forget. I looked straight into his clear eyes. Although this is our first meeting, I really don't want to see something like this happen again in one day. Chapter 3 Going Back. Remember mail sign in 1 second, update quickly, and read for free. Although Gideon said my lawyer would be here shortly. In fact, I was told I could leave after half an hour, not even waiting for my lawyer. I went back to the hotel directly and made a call to Uncle Ken's place. But the gentle secretary Kelly told me that he had already boarded a plane to Seattle. In response, I had no choice but to sigh and immediately send the hotel address to Uncle Ken's mailbox. I charged my phone, ordered some food, and waited. I don't know what I'm waiting for. Maybe it's the news that the girl he met by chance is safe, or maybe he's waiting for Uncle Kent's arrival. Except it's not about the progress of the incident involving the dead Phoebe Shawn. Thanks to my special powers, my curiosity about this kind of murder becomes less and less. Besides, I have a feeling that this matter is not over yet. Yes. Unknowingly, I fell asleep on the sofa next to the floor-to-ceiling window and slept until the next day. I was woken up by a ringing sound while I was half asleep. I opened my heavy eyelids and took a look. It was an unfamiliar number. Hello. I don't know if it was because of the rain, but my throat seemed to hurt a little, as if it had been burned by something. In addition, because I had just woken up, my voice was so hoarse that I didn't even look like myself. This is Ethel speaking. Hello, miss. This is Detective Al Greenway from the Seattle District Police Department. A calm female voice came from the other end of the phone. We have some things we want to know from you about the poisoning case of Phoebe Shaun. I coughed, shook my confused head, raised my hand and touched my forehead. It seemed a little warm. I braced myself. Do you need me to go to the police station? Cough, cough, cough. Now, how to get there? My swollen head actually made me express my inner complaints. The other party paused after hearing this. If it's inconvenient, we can come to you to understand the situation. As if thinking that I had just arrived in Seattle, he added, just tell me the address. Hearing what the other party said, I felt a little embarrassed. I covered my hot cheeks and said quickly, Room 1712, Greenville Hotel. Okay, see you later. See you soon. Dong, dong, dong. Half an hour later, there was a knock on the door of the room. Should I sigh that I am worthy of being a police officer? The speed is fast. I opened the door without unhooking it and looked out through the gap a hand wide. Why is there an FBI everywhere? I lost the thought of confirming my identity and opened the door directly. To be honest, if I hadn't seen the person I met yesterday afternoon, I would never have opened the door for the other two people. Wearing black clothes, black trousers, and a black shirt that he just took off, the first thing a normal person would think of is a gangster, right? Well, except maybe the American people. Dr. Reed, Ajlan, and I looked at the handsome black guy aside. Agent Mann. Seeing that I recognized the other two people, the sturdy black police detective raised his eyebrows and introduced himself. His eyebrows looked a little strange in my eyes. To be honest, they were so thick that they reminded me of an anime character from his previous life, Noera Shinnasuk. Gomein. I turned sideways to let them in. Please take a seat wherever you like. When I closed the door, in addition to the single sofa next to the bed, Mann and Elle occupied the sofa by the window. Reed seemed to be hesitating whether to sit on the single sofa next to the bed. When he saw me walking towards them, he looked up at the two people who were sitting firmly and sat on their footrests side by side with some uneasiness. To be honest, with his tall stature, he seemed a little uncomfortable sitting on the lower footrest, with his arms slightly resting on his long curled legs and the soft hair on his head hanging down. It gives people an indescribable feeling. I sat on the sofa next to the bed, without any intention of pouring water for them, and stroked my still aching head. Looking face to face at Elle, the policewoman who called me, I said, Agent Elle, aren't you talking about Phoebe Shaun's poisoning case? Why is the FBI even dispatched? I raised my chin to Reed, who was constantly adjusting his sitting position next to me. I think my record at the police station this afternoon is clear enough. I don't know what else I can help you with. No, your record is very detailed. We are here to ask, have you seen this person? Elle took out a photo of the man. Isn't this the A Piao I saw squatting next to the landscape tree when I entered the Brita building? I lowered my head, covered my eyes with my bangs, adjusted my expression. It looked like I had a headache, but it was a real headache. I supported my head with my hands, covering half of my face. Let me think about it. I stared at the photo for a while and shook my head. Sorry, I'm a little dizzy. I really can't remember. I probably haven't seen it before. Have you really never seen it? No impression at all. Mann glanced at me and pushed the photo in front of me. No. I lowered my eyes and pursed my lips. Who was he? Should I recognize him? Anthony A. Larman. Mann slowly added, Brita Company's first victim today was just found dead in the material warehouse on the first floor. It is also the 7th person in their company to die unnaturally this year. 2 people died in one day. I frowned fiercely, so it turned out that this guy just died? There's another more abrupt question. Al put the photo away and smiled. As far as I know, miss, you're a top student at Stanford University. Your last job was at the Quantico branch of Kenta Software. The Quantico branch of Kenta Software is very close to the neighborhood where you live, and the company is developing well. Why did you choose to leave? It seemed that it was a little personal, and her expression looked a little embarrassed. But in my opinion, this should just be an expression on her part. I didn't know what kind of expression I should make in response to this question, so I lowered the corner of my mouth and said sharply, "Well, the last person who asked this question was Phoebe. Xiaon, he died not long after he asked." My answer to him was, "I think the development prospects of Brita Company are better." I looked at the subtle expressions of the three people opposite me and continued without changing, "Of course this is a lie. The real reason is..." I stared at the two men in front of me and raised a bad smile. I kicked my male boss because of sexual harassment in the workplace. I saw the choked expression on the other person's face, and suddenly I felt that the boredom of the whole day was relieved a little. Especially when I saw the young doctor's tangled face and his hands subconsciously covering his head, my headache was much better. Seeing as they were pleasing me, I decided to give them a little hint.
À Joël.
I looked serious and looked at the other person sincerely. Although I have never met this person, after what you said, I suddenly remembered something. Although I am not 100% sure whether this is related to what you said. What's the matter? After hearing this, the person opposite focused their eyes on me. Elle also took out a pen and paper and encouraged, "Tell me something." When I was taking the elevator, I saw Miss Vanessa's hand. I paused, then continued hesitantly. Her nails are beautifully done. You know, women are interested in these. But the strange thing is that there are tiny scratches on her nails, just like... I glanced at them and said as if speculating, it was like being strangled by something like a thin wire, but there were no scratches on her hands. "It's not weird to accidentally rub your nails," Reed murmured, but... Man took over his words, but as a senior secretary of a large company, she will not make such a mistake unless she has no time to correct it. What is more important than image, boss, reception, and... No, she corrected it. I mean, she repainted her nails. I waved my hand, signaling for them to stop. This is the strangest part. After I found out that Phoebe Xiaon was dead, I called Miss Vanessa outside the door, and then she went to the guard room to find someone. I called the police, but when I went to the police station with her again to take notes, she handed me a glass of water. At that time, her nails were obviously repainted. You mean, after finding out that Phoebe Xiaon was dead, her secretary took her time and repainted her nails? Elle frowned, as if thinking of something. Yes, the reason why I am so weird is probably because these two people were still at the door of the smoking room before my interview. Asterisk, asterisk? I looked a little embarrassed. I was a little nervous during the first interview, so I secretly wanted to look at my interviewer, and I happened to see that scene. Later I thought about it. How could such a close person still be in the mood to dress up after the other person died? Man and Elle looked at each other and gave me a reassuring smile, teasingly. Reed on the side looked at me with an innocent expression, as if he couldn't see my embarrassment. When I looked over, he was stunned for 3 seconds and started to look away again. In fact, this is not the truth I saw. But proving the truth has nothing to do with me. Vanessa did kill someone, and she had a very strong negative energy. At the door of the smoking room, there was a fat man lying on her shoulder to vent his resentment. The A Piao next to the landscape tree was obviously strangled to death by something like a very thin wire, and her nails were indeed repainted, and there was indeed a crack on her middle fingernail. However, this was not what I saw with my own eyes, but what the gentleman behind you, Mr. Reed, told me. I was a little troubled when I saw A Piao behind Reed. Logically speaking, the earthbound spirit cannot leave the place where he died, but obviously Mr. Reed has the legendary spirit-touching physique. This young doctor wouldn't think that the dark circles under his eyes were caused by fatigue, would he? Fortunately, for such a kind-hearted, simple, and upright person, even if he has a spirit-touching constitution, it will not cause much harm. At most, he will just feel tired. The spirit is easy to contact, but will not stay with him for a long time. By the way, Dr. Reed, I suddenly remembered the missing Heather Woodland. Has Heather Woodland been found? Yes. She's already settled. At this time, Dr. Reed was embarrassed as never before. He avoided his eyes and kept stroking his other arm with his hand. He was full of nervousness and a hint of guilt, and was a little incoherent. That piece of paper, I didn't remember. Yes, I didn't remember the number, I'm sorry. After saying that, he glanced at me and immediately lowered his head. I didn't feel much when I heard what he said. After all, it's normal for the FBI to not remember such small things due to the nature of their work. But maybe it was because I was a little disappointed because I had asked him so sincerely but was rejected. On the contrary, man on the side looked at him with a surprised expression for a long time and then kept looking at us secretly and teasingly. Uncle Kent arrived shortly after Elle and the others left, looking very tired. He listened to the whole incident, was silent for a while, took off his glasses, and pinched the inner canthus of his eyes. You should go to work in DIS so that I can still take care of you. DIS is Uncle Kent's trading company in Las Vegas, but because of some things, I don't want to stay there. No, Uncle. I shook my head. I don't want to go back just yet. Uncle Kent looked at me, his brows furrowed tightly, then relaxed, and he sighed in a compromising manner. Come back to Quantico with me first. You can think about work and other things yourself. He patted my shoulder. His blue eyes were different from the sharp and cold ones at work. At this moment, they revealed a reassuring kindness and comfort. Thank you, Uncle Kent. I really don't know what to say to this elder, who's always taken care of me and kept compromising on my willfulness. I can't express my feelings and gratitude in words. Chapter 4, What Can't Be Changed. Remember mail sign in 1 second, update quickly, and read for free. Hello, this is Ethel C. Dr. Ethel? Hello, this is Wallace. I finally waited for your call. So you're planning to try our school? I have been looking forward to it since I received Mark's call. Yes. Then what do I need to prepare? Is it okay next Wednesday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon? We will do a simple interview, and then my teaching assistant will explain to you the precautions and other things. Just bring your resume and a smile. Oh, by the way, you can come here early. Our department has a lecture on Wednesday morning. You can come and listen to it, and by the way, you can visit the school in advance. Okay, I'll be there on time. Thank you so much, Pro Wallace. It's sure. I will send the specific time and address to your email later. Please check it. Then, I look forward to meeting you next week. Thank you. See you next week. I am Ethel Chun Ki from Quantico, Virginia, 23 years old, Chinese American, with a quarter of German ancestry and dominant Chinese roots, plus some inhuman little abilities. Anyway, I am currently looking for a job. My mentor, Pro. Lawrence introduced me to his old classmate Josh Wallace. Wallace is a professor in the Department of Science at Bradshaw University. Their department is conducting an academic